Question 5 is about using properties to identify the substances. Identify each unknown material from the list below. Justify your response based on the information presented and your knowledge of material structure. So obviously we've got melting point, conductivity, and malleability. What do I know about these properties? Malleability, metals malleable. Conductivity, metals equal yes, and ionic compounds equal no but yes, and covalent compounds equal no. Just trying to give you the basic idea. Ionic compounds no as a solid, but yes as dissolved or melted. And melting point is a bit all over the shop, but we'll talk about that later on. But these are clear guidelines in terms of what metals and ionic compounds are with malleability and so on and so forth. So first of all, looking down here, I can see the fact that substance D is going to be a metal. Substance D has to be a metal because it is malleable. Okay? It conducts electricity as both a solid and a liquid, so therefore that's pretty good. Okay. Substance C conducts electricity when dissolved in water. That suggests that it's going to be ionic. Okay. And then substance A and B bothly be covalent. Okay, so if I've got that based on the malleability and conductivity, I could then look at my melting point to work out if this is covalent molecular or covalent lattice. This guy here has an extremely high melting point, so therefore he must be a covalent lattice, and therefore this guy has a low melting point, which means he must be covalent molecular. So once I've got this, I can then look at these substances here and work out which fits the bill the best. So let's start with substance A. It's covalent molecular and it's got a super duper low melting point. Okay, the super duper low melting point probably means it's dispersion forces and non-polar. So let's go through here. Aluminium's metal, no. Sugar is covalent. Methane is covalent. Octane is covalent. Diamond, water, and mercury. Water is covalent. Okay, it's got a melting point of negative 150 degrees Celsius. So that means it's going to be non-polar. Sugar is a relatively large molecule. It's also got high oxygens in it, which suggests it's polar, so it's not going to be sugar. Methane is a very small molecule. It's only made of carbon and hydrogen, and if I was to draw that out, it would be like this, with H's around it. All right, so therefore methane's looking pretty good. Octane is again a non-polar substance. Water's out of the question because it would be a melting point of 0 degrees. But octane, here, you've got a carbon, 8 carbons. That's a large molecule. What that's probably going to do is make it a liquid, and octane is in petrol. Petrol's a liquid, so it's not going to be that. It's going to be methane. CH4, okay, as it must be covalent molecular with low forces. CH4 is non-polar and shows only weak dispersion forces. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm identifying what it is, I write it down, and then I tell the examiner about what I know about it. And that's kind of how I'm going to explain why I've come up with that particular response. It's based on the properties I know it does have. All right. Substance B is covalent lattice. So which of these would be a covalent lattice? Diamond. Diamond, as it is a covalent lattice, which would have a high melting point. All right, and not conduct electricity. So you're identifying the properties which diamond has there. Substance C is ionic. It dissolves in water really well, so what is going to do that? The only ionic compound here is going to be sodium chloride. So substance C must be NaCl, as it is ionic. All right, and then I'll probably write about what the properties are. Okay, ionic substance will conduct when dissolved as the anions and cations can move when dissolved. Okay, substance B, what have I got left? So it's going to be a metal, and I've got aluminium, and I've got mercury as my metals left. What is the melting point? Melting point is negative 38 degrees Celsius. What that suggests is that my metal must be a liquid at room temperature, which makes it mercury, Hg. All right, as it is a metal with a low melting point and can conduct electricity due to delocalized electrons being able to move. Apologies for my terrible writing, but that's the idea. I'm trying to work through these questions, and what I say is probably more important than what I actually write, to be fair. But this particular question, you're looking at the properties, narrowing it down as covalent molecular, covalent lattice, ionic, and metallic, and then using your knowledge of those to try and identify the substances. Once you have identified the substance, simply tell me what it is and the properties and why it exhibits those properties. That's the key, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know and I can talk you through it in a bit more detail.